Hey guys, Shaun here with a special video. Um, when this goes up, it will have been a year since we started the Let's Plays. Like a full year. March 11th, 2019, we started the Let's Plays. And it's crazy to think that it's still going. It was originally just a little thing I started doing. I've been trying to do Let's Plays and stuff, do something for a long time, and I'd been trying to do stuff with other people because I don't feel like I was interested enough or could really carry anything on my own like that. And I've mentioned before in some of the playthroughs, like we tried to do Let's Plays with my brother, which didn't work out, and we had the commentaries that happened, and they didn't last that long. And then a little over a year ago, I was still really trying to get something going with it, and I just had a spurt of confidence and decided, why don't I just try something on my own and see how it goes? And I was pretty happy with how it turned out. And now it's been a year since that, and we've been going for the year, and we've expanded in a bunch of ways. We've started Twitch stream since then, and we've done a bunch of stuff. We've done over 20 playthroughs at this point. This goes up. Currently, we'll be doing Astral Chain and The Simpsons Hit and Run. And the weekend one-offs will be back. Try and keep those going for longer this time. A couple of months we'll be doing our second theme month, which will be Star Wars month. We already did Halloween in October, which I want to be a recurring thing. And it's crazy to think it's been a year since I started this. And so what I was thinking with the anniversary video, because I'm going to have to do something for the anniversary, what I was thinking was, let's go back to the very first video and take a look. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit and I'm going to watch my very first video, the first part of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which was the first playthrough I did for the channel, and discuss thoughts about it and how we've grown and changed. So let's give it a go. Hey guys, anybody who might be watching this, my name is Shaun. This is my first Let's Play. So this is a fun thing to think about immediately. From the start, I wasn't overly happy with the way I presented my name.
Every Let's Play
it comes across as I'm short
non-commentary version
when it's supposed to be Shaun.
It will be the same game footage.
I wasn't overly happy about that.
Without the commentary, just in case.
And this is also a thing that has changed quite a bit.
Which I see a lot of people.
I cut out a lot of the throat clearing now, like almost all of it.
Which is
understandable. Because I clear my throat a lot when I'm doing these videos.
Yeah, if you want to see talk the game without my voice, there will be a separate
I cut all of that out, or try to mute the mic when it's about to happen. And the same is true of the stream. Whenever I clear my throat, I mute the mic as often as possible.
Castlevania Symphony of the Night. First released
this was also before I started using the noise reduction.
Classics.
See, there's the
developed by Konami. Famously,
what is it? A lot of the background noise, like the background hum, you tend to hear on a lot of lower quality mics.
I'm eager to see how Bloodstained Ritual of the Night turns out. His current Kickstarter project.
That was a bad joke, but I was pretty nervous when I started this.
But yeah, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Critically acclaimed,
So you get a lot of the
Came out at
mouth
a
noises
time
here.
when 2D
When I
games
first
were
started this,
very
I had
much
the mic a
on
lot
the
closer to my
downturn.
face.
There was a lot of
I
push for
wasn't
3D titles,
entirely sure exactly how to position it.
which in hindsight wasn't the best
Now I have it
thing.
moved further away. It's not in
So I
direct
don't
path
think
of my
this game
face
sold
anymore,
that well
so we
initially,
don't
but
have the
strong critical
breathing to
praise
get
and
caught
good word
with.
of mouth eventually gave it the
I remember
reputation
being
it
pretty happy
deserves,
with
and
how the
it did sell
playthrough
enough to
itself
become a
turned
greatest
out.
hits in America, a platinum here in the UK. These are all items we can't use yet because we are playing as Richter. Yeah, Symphony of the Night starts with the ending.
Yeah, I've spent
of
a
the
lot of
previous game.
time
Symphony of the Night is actually a sequel
in the past.
to Rondo of Blood.
I want to be like
known in
a
Japan
little before
as
October,
Shino
maybe a
Rondo.
little after October.
First game of the
When I
Dracula X
started
sub-series, Symphony of the Night is the second.
using noise reduction on the
And we start with
commentary track,
the end of
which is
Rondo of
recorded
Blood,
separately from the
which,
game audio so that I
was
can
not released
edit it up
outside
and cut
Japan at
stuff
this
out.
point. I'm just going to be quiet for this very famous exchange.
I can actually recite this entire thing from memory, but like anybody who's grown up with this game can as well. It's not a difficult thing to do now.
Tribute? You steal men's souls and make them your slaves. Perhaps the same.
So whenever there's a long pause like this where I'm not speaking, even at the beginning, I was cutting large chunks of it out where there's nothing being said, so you can't hear the background hum that you get with mics like this now, so that you wouldn't hear it when I was not talking.
So, of course, a very famous exchange. The dialogue, the voice acting in this game is infamous for poor quality. I think it's worth noting.
The slight sniff there. I cut those out definitely now.
This is February of 2019. The PS4.
I recorded this in February. I knew I recorded it
very big
at least a little while before I put it up, but I didn't remember exactly how long. That happens every now and then, and I don't know what causes it still. But at this point, I cut those out and try and work around them whenever they happen. I'm not sure what causes it.
On the PS4 version, the Requiem version, and it is just the PSP version that they've put on the PS4. We'll possibly get to that game at a later point if I keep doing Let's Plays long enough. We'll see.
This was a recurring thing in some of the early playthroughs. If we go long enough, and now here we are a year in.
I mean, like I say, Requiem came out like 4 months ago, and I've played through it. I've played through Symphony of the Night on Requiem. I'm not going to get the Holy Water because it'll lower Alucard's stats when we start the game properly. So I do apologise for how slow this is.
Yeah, the fight doesn't go particularly fast. But I did it specifically in a fairly safe way, I remember,
the next section is very fast.
so that I wouldn't take any damage. I forget if not taking damage affects Alucard's stats.
Within the last 4 months, might have been last month that I finished it. I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't keeping track of the date. I was playing it very on and off, not really paying much attention, because the PSP version is not the best way to play this.
It's really not. Interestingly enough, like, the week before this will come out,
anywhere rather than just
Konami out of nowhere released Symphony of the Night on mobiles. You can get it on iOS and Android now, which is weird. And it's really cheap. Like, I saw the price list is $3. I've not checked how much it is on the European store. Let me check, actually, right now.
I'm glad to go through that without being hit. That would have been embarrassing. Yeah, I've played through this game dozens of times. I don't know what's going on there. That doesn't look right.
Oh, the weird visual glitches this playthrough. I forgot about those.
No, I've played through this game dozens of times. Watch me get hit in the opening battle. That's actually very easy. Yeah, let's do a dramatic reading just for the sake of it. It was Richter Belmont,
Yeah, he's £3.
the legendary vampire hunter who succeeded in finally ending
Which
the
is
menace of Count Dracula.
really
Lord of the
weird.
vampires who had been brought back from the grave by the dog priest Shaft. However, one night,
Well, I would
4
not
years
want to
later,
play this game
in the glare
with
of a full moon,
touchscreen
Richter
controls.
mysteriously vanished. With no idea of where to begin her search, Maria Renard set out to look for him. It was then
It's not a
that the
widescreen
fate
game,
of
so it's got borders on it.
Castlevania, the Castle of Dracula, which is rumored to appear once every century, suddenly materialized.
So this is funny, actually. The promotional pictures, like jump, slash, and dash your way through the castle. New UI for intuitive special attack and transformation controls. And then the third promotional picture says press up when at a save point.
In order to purge the world of his own
A variety of unique monsters are creeping around every corner. It's like wow.
an eternal slumber. But now he's awake and aware.
Well, from what I'm aware of, it's based on the PSP version, like Requiem is, which
good and evil to engage in their ancient battle. Dracula's castle beckons for you. And no
I mean, I forget if I actually discussed my problems with the PSP version. The Castlevania Marathon is currently going on, and I'm unsure about whether or not we'll get to Symphony of the Night with it being up for vote. I'm probably going to put Symphony of the Night in there at some point.
In the Japanese version, this is actually all in English, which I find very interesting. It's a completely different
And if we
script,
do,
there's a lot
I'll
of
be doing the
English
PS4 version or the Requiem version, which
monotones
is
to it.
just a port of the PSP version.
And instead of Castlevania, it says Dracula X. It also has a narrator
lots on, let's go.
entirely in English.
I forgot when I
which,
started
again, is
this, I made the parts way longer than I do now. Like, depending on the game I'm playing now, the parts
feel
can
like
be anywhere from
started
15 minutes
talk
to a
about
little over
3
half an
different
hour.
things and then gotten sidetracked
But
and
back
gone
when I
the other way.
originally started, my intention was longer parts.
Okay, so now we have Alucard, very different to Richter Belmont, or just Belmonts in particular.
The
This is a
backdash.
shield dash. Went a bit further than I wanted there.
Do I explain the shield dash?
Basically, what we have is we have this backdash technique
There we go.
by pressing triangle. If you rapidly press triangle, this is as fast as you can go. There's a slight recovery to it. But if you pull the shield out during the animation, it cancels the recovery. So with the right timing, you can actually blaze through most corridors.
That's pretty good.
Speedrunners do use it as one of the fastest ways to get around. I am not a speedrunner. I don't, as much as I love this game, I do not have the patience to sit down and learn all of it that much and how to do everything optimized in the best way.
Well, that's part of it. Another part of the reason why I don't
have
generally
the
speedrun
patience
beyond
to
the
do that
limited
with
patience and
any
attention
game
span
I love, honestly.
is my fingers
They
aren't
do
generally
get to a point
dexterous
where
enough.
I'm very tired of playing the same thing
It's like,
over and over.
if there was one game that I could really sit down and go speedrunning with,
So yeah,
it would probably be
Alucard plays
either
very
Metroid
differently
Fusion or
to
Zero Mission.
traditional
Zero
Dragon
Mission
Ball,
was our second
which was
Let's Play,
traditional at
actually,
the time this
which
game came
was
out,
fun.
and after this game came out, now
Like, they're both very fast paced. I can have them both
a lot
done
of people are
without
probably more used
actually
to
speedrunning.
Metroidvania
in
style
under-
than Classicvania. First appearance of
Fusion
Death
I've done
here.
in under 2 hours. Zero Mission might be a little over 2 hours. But like in
Ron
Zero
Feldman
Mission,
playing
especially, you can
Alucard
do
here.
the single wall jump, which was brought back from Super Metroid, and I can't do it reliably. My
Interesting
fingers
thing,
don't
Death will
move
appear later as a boss battle. because of
dexter,
course he
like
will.
they don't move quickly enough
He
and
has a
accurately
different
enough to
swipe
do it,
there
which is kind of
than this. This isn't how
a
he
shame.
appears, which
But then they
is
never really
strange.
have.
And Death just mugged us for all our stuff.
Mugged
We
us.
don't have a sword or a shield or any of our equipment. It's all gone. It's very traditional Metroid style to have you start without your equipment. Metroid Prime would later go on to do something similar to this.
Yeah, that's a
TV
good
Tropes refers to
point.
it as a taste of power. Heart max up, increase our
When
max
this
heart,
happened,
collecting several
when
of
Symphony of the
those
Night
throughout
came
the
out, Metroid hadn't given any kind of
yeah, TV
explanation
Tropes
yet
refers to it as a
for
taste of
why
power.
you don't have the stuff you
You
had
are
at
given
the end of the previous
character
game.
in a strong state at the beginning.
And then Metroid Prime came out and you start
something
with a
happens
bunch
in
of
the early
equipment
game
and
to
lose it
strip you of
early on.
power.
Prime 2 has a similar
For
thing.
example,
You
in
start
this
with a bunch
game,
of
Death just
bunch
stole
of
our
equipment and
stuff.
lose a bunch of it early on.
Metroid
Other
Prime
M,
has you knocked
which
into a
I've
wall
not
by,
played
a big
for
explosive.
longer
There's a
than
neutron
10
bomb there
minutes at
because
this point.
is technically a
Has a similar thing where you start with all your equipment, but you're not allowed to
you may have
use
saw
any
at
of
the
it,
start,
and it's part of the
I
infamous
do
thing
have more
about
than
that
just
game.
the one save file for this game.
The authorization
so this is
thing is.
counted as a replay, so there are several things that can appear. We start with a neutron bomb in our inventory. We can buy the duplicator from the merchant, the librarian.
Symphony of the Night is
the Ring
a
of
very
Varda
easy game,
drop later on in the game,
though it
which
is
a very
most
broken
dangerous at the
accessory.
start
The cube of
because you
Zoe is our
don't
first
have
relic. It
the.
means things will drop from the candles. Very traditional Castlevania
You don't have any
style.
equipment to really buff your stats,
But
so
yeah,
you
as I
take a
was saying,
lot of
the
damage
Taste of Power,
quickly,
Metroid Prime has you knocked into
and
a
enemies
wall
get
by an
get
explosion,
nasty
and
pretty
then
quick.
that deactivates all your
But then, like an
abilities.
hour in, you'll
Use
have
the
enough to really be
charge beam,
fine,
the
and your health
missiles,
will
the
have
morph
jumped
ball,
up
the
a
grapple
lot.
beam.
And then you're
Everything
pretty
that
much
isn't
fine until the
power beam,
reverse
basically.
castle, where it's not that things are
Darksiders
difficult,
is
it's just
one
that
of the more
everything does a
recent games
lot
I
of
can think
damage
of
all
that
of a
did it.
sudden.
You start off as War, fully powered to herald the apocalypse.
I need to go
big
back and
health
finish
bar, big attack.
Darksiders.
And
I
then
tried
you
it
beat a
twice.
boss,
The first time I didn't
and
play
all
that
is
much
stripped
of it. The
away from
second
you.
time, I stuck with it for a few
I
hours,
can't really think
and
of
I've
any
still
other
not
games
gone
that
back
generally do
and
that these
really
days.
finished it. I got kind of bored, but I do want to go back and do it properly.
What I'm going to do here is a little trick. Because at the moment we have the short sword.
Did I pull this off the first time? No, I didn't.
timed that wrong. I'll have to do that again.
I think I have the timing down better for it now.
Okay, we'll give this one more try, and if I don't get it, then for the sake of the playthrough, I'll just continue.
It's not a difficult trick to pull off,
We
it's
have
just about
short sword.
specific
It's a
timing.
decent enough weapon, it's a good starting weapon.
I got a little eager there.
What I'm after is a weapon in the room above called the Basilard, which if I get it, I will show it off. Hopefully that Axe Knight isn't going to mess me up with his axes.
There you go.
There we go, perfect.
That's
here we have the
that's
Basilard.
good.
If we take a look at its stats, it is actually slightly weaker than the short sword, but it is counted as a punching weapon.
I actually went back and played
Which means
Symphony of
the
the Night
attack animation is
again
a
a
lot
few
faster.
months back on stream. I did the a luck mode run where I also got the good ending, which requires
Which in the end, if
I think
you
it's over
can dash fast enough,
195%
you can go
map
through enemies a lot
completion.
quicker.
Between both
Which is very
castles,
good.
each castle map counts as 100%. I did that in, I think it took like 7
aside
hours
from
or so.
Darksiders, the original Darksiders where you played as War, I don't recall any recent games having you start off powerful and then removing your abilities or your equipment. But chances are I'm just forgetting something.
Yeah, I probably am. I don't
If you
don't
know
recall
of any
any at the
games
minute,
that do
but
that more recently than Darksiders, definitely let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate that.
I think that's the only time I've ever mentioned the comments
It's
section in a
hidden
video.
room where we get a boost to our maximum health.
How far does this
So yeah, unlike
this
previous
video go
Castlevanias,
to?
this is more of an RPG
we
style.
go to after
which
the
will be followed
doppelganger
by the
fight, wow.
later games in the series. Circle the
If I was
Moon,
doing this
Harmony of
nowadays,
Dissonance,
I'd probably go
Sorrow
to
in the Game
just
Boy
after the
Advance,
Slugger and Gaiden fight, and that'd be
God
the
of
end of the
Sorrow,
part.
Portrait of Ruin, and Order of Ecclesia on the DS. All having RPG
No, those intakes of breath.
elements.
Mm.
This is years before RPG elements were kind of shoehorned into everything.
And because the mic is closer
See
to my
RPG
face at
elements
this
in
point, because it's
everything these days,
closer,
skill trees,
a lot
level
closer to me,
systems.
I am speaking
often
a
than
lot more
not,
softly than I do nowadays.
Especially in the case of a level system.
We have
allowed
experimented
to play
since this with I got a headset
But
several months after, and we did the Spyro
blending
playthrough
the
with the
genres
headset.
has inevitably come to pass.
Whether it was all the Spyro playthrough or some of the Spyro
Been a
playthrough, I don't
while, I'm not
remember.
really gonna spend much of it, but you know, we'll grab the money. Why not?
At this point, there was also an upcoming playthrough where I tried the headset again and wasn't overly happy with it.
As far as the controls go, this game does play very well. Very
But at
smooth.
this point, that playthrough won't be up yet.
This is the European
It'll be going up
version,
after The Simpsons Hit and Run.
which I think would run at 50 hertz. because back in the day, there was a difference in power supply between Europe and the rest of the world.
I think Symphony of the
Rest
Night
of the
was a
world
good
would
game
have
to
60
start on.
hertz refresh
I
rates
know
on
it well
their
enough.
CPUs due to power consumption, I think.
Um,
Whereas Europe would have 50 hertz.
it's easy
which means
enough that I don't
TVs
really need to worry
didn't
about any
refresh as
problems
fast.
embarrassing myself in any way.
Which in general led to a lot of games being slower in Europe.
But it is like it's interesting. It's visually interesting. Castlevania's always interesting.
something
I
we
love
just
the
got
series.
used to,
I love the
although
series. It's
if
why we're
you-
currently doing the marathon,
If
which
you're an
I'm
American,
quite enjoying.
or you're used to playing American versions of games, check out the European renditions of several classic songs that you may know. The European Sonic the Hedgehog and Green Hill Zone.
European
Zone theme,
50
or,
hertz
say Mega Man
Green Hill
2
Zone.
with its classic soundtrack, and the European renditions of those, which they all sound slower. They're all played slower. Which
And here's
can be a
Slogger
little
and
weird
Gaibin.
to a lot of people. It's just how we had
Do
it.
I mention about how I had
back in the
trouble with
day.
these guys as a kid?
This is our first boss. It's a dual team between Slogger and Gaibin. Previously bosses in Super Castlevania 4, where they were tricky, were fought as part of a gauntlet. You went Slogger, Gaibin, then Death. But here, first boss, very easy. It's very easy to get them into a pattern where Slogger, whenever you hit Slogger, will
There's the advantage of the rapid fire ability of the
bounce
battle
back
pad.
and Gaibin will catch him, and then he will try to drop Slogger on you. But if you hit Slogger again, even while he's falling, he'll jump back again, and Slogger will catch, and Gaibin will catch him again, and just rinse and repeat until Slogger is dead, and then Gaibin on his own is absolutely no threat. It is something we'll get into later as we go. This game is honestly not balanced that well. It's not
I
a
didn't
bad
mention
thing,
it
but
at all.
does make the game very easy.
Back when I first played Symphony of the Night,
I do think
when
the
would it have
trickiest
been,
part of the
like
game is the
99
start,
maybe?
when you have less equipment and you'll take more damage.
I really had trouble with Slogger and
once you get a
Gaibin. They were like a
decent
wall
set
for a
of
long
equipment,
time. Which is kind of funny
you
looking
will
back at it
be
now, because Slogger and
very
Gaibin are
hard-pressed
such
to
an easy
actually
fight.
die.
And it's not like I couldn't do games.
You'll just be taking so little damage from everything. It does become
I
crazy.
mean, if Symphony of the Night's your first game,
And
fair
Alucard
enough,
has
but
so much at his disposal.
I was
so many
decent enough at
weapons,
games. I could
spells, which we'll get
I could
later.
do all of Super Mario
We have
World.
47 MP, so I'll show off a spell later.
I'd beaten a Link to the Past by this
No,
point,
keep the
and
axe
I'm
now.
just there having so much trouble with Slogger and Gaibin were really easy. But like back at that point, I wasn't.
As we're starting to level up, we're taking out enemies fast.
These
Oh,
days,
that's a
I
good drop,
do end
folks.
up with.
One is curious, doesn't usually drop this early for me.
So I found out last week actually that's supposed to be
With
pronounced
its RPG
Quius,
elements,
which is weird.
A lot of enemies do have drops that they can make.
Yeah. These days, a lot of the
percentage-based,
time, I look for stuff
which
like
can
stun
be-
locking
can be a good thing
enemies
or a bad thing. You
and
can end up with something like
recovery
that, where
animations and stuff. The
better
ways
piece
of dealing
armor
with it.
drops early on.
As a kid, no.
Only did
Like, yeah,
one
okay,
point
hit Slugger, it flies back into
defense
Gaibin, then I've got to watch out for that attack. Whereas these days, hit
It's not
Slugger, it
that
flies
big a
back into
deal,
Gaibin.
but there are
Well,
other
that
drops
means
you'll want
neither of them are
later on that you
attacking
might
for a
want
minute. Let's
before,
go and do some
like
damage,
the
especially with the
legendary
axe.
Sagrum, which isn't
Really
the
have
most powerful
grown
weapon in the
as
game,
a
but
gamer.
it hits 4 times with every swing. So,
Sagrum.
you-
I don't
you
think
do
that
the math.
dropped in this playthrough.
100
We ended up
times 1
grinding
or
for it.
75 times 4, which does more damage.
We ended up grinding for it in the luck mode playthrough.
The previously mentioned Ring of Varda is also a drop.
The Ring of Varda did actually
Flea Men,
drop during this
Annoying
playthrough.
as usual.
I was really happy with how this
Picked up the
playthrough
Holy
turned
War,
out,
but
gameplay
must be
wise,
holding on to
because we
that
ended up
for
with a
probably
bunch
most
of
the
really
game.
good
It's
drops.
very broken. Not quite as broken as
I've
Ring
got
Design
the
drop,
bronze
but I
Quius
just
there
saw,
was a pretty
which I
surprising
didn't
early
show
drop.
you, but, it's a screen that lasts
I'm not sure what the
exceptionally
stats,
long time.
what the chances of it are, the percentages,
This is Maria,
but
now,
it's a
who
drop
will
that
be our
I have
supporting character.
very rarely seen happen in my playthroughs, as many times as I've played this. And then later on, we weren't even grinding for it,
Going
we
back to
just
the
end
voice
up with the
acting,
Ring
which
of
I briefly
Varda.
mentioned earlier. The PSP version did completely redo the dialogue and the voice acting.
Perhaps we'll meet again.
I cannot, off the top of my head, name
Farewell.
any of the voice actors involved with PSP version.
I think Yuri
Lowenthal
Lowenthal.
is in
There
there,
we
but
go.
I'm not entirely sure.
I think Yuri Lowenthal voiced Alucard in the
The
PSP,
PSP
version.
version does get a bad rap because the voice acting, people say it makes it sound more generic, less distinctive. Having recently gone through the PS4 version, the Requiem version, which is an upscale PSP version, don't let Konami fool you with that, it is the PSP version.
Yeah, it's weird that they've not
Listening
bothered
to a lot of the
re-releasing the
dialogue
PS1
after
version at
being
this point,
through
with
this
them
game.
doing Requiem
The first time I
and
played the PSP
the
version,
mobile port that came out,
I hadn't been through the PS1 version in
and
a
it's
while.
it's really weird that they've not
So the
done
PS1
that.
voice acting wasn't
They've not put the
directly
PS1
embedded
version
in
out
my
since.
brain,
They've been going for the PSP
at
version.
that time. But since then, I've been through this game numerous times, and actually knowing the PS1 dialogue by heart.
Yeah, I
having
do
it in
know
my mind to
most of
compare with,
the
I think
most
not
of
just
the
voice
dialogue
acting,
off by heart at this point.
the dialogue that they've replaced it with, in a lot of cases, it's not a replacement. It's the same dialogue, like exactly the same dialogue, and in a bunch of cases, the voice acting I think sounds weaker. You can criticize a lot of the voice acting in this game. Alucard, Robert Belgrade, who plays Alucard, I think does put in a very decent effort as Alucard. Makes a solid show. It can come off as cheesy.
They brought Robert Belgrade
and
back
not
for
great parts, but at least
Bloodstained
it's
Ritual
trying.
of the Night, which came out
The
after I
main
did this
impression I
playthrough.
got from Alucard in
And
the PSP version on PS4,
you can
was
tell
that
which
he was
character
bored.
Robert Belgrade is.
There didn't really seem to be any passion there.
Because it's the Alucard, it's the character
You'll
that
see
looks
the
like
tar drop.
Alucard,
How high is
and
my
he's
roll?
doing his
28.
Alucard voice again.
Get some decent drops.
So it's a pretty neat little touch,
The
though.
Ring of Fire drops. I'm not going to equip it because that will make this playthrough even easier.
And then it dropped, and I didn't equip it. I did equip it for the
But yeah,
the Galamoth fight, the
PSP
hardest fight in the
dialogue
game.
in a lot of cases was
But when
weaker,
we did
I
look
felt.
mode,
not just the
I showed off a different method of
prompts,
dealing.
some
I
of the
used the
prompts
Alucard,
is better.
the
Ritz
shield rod
Abandonment in
Alucard
this
shield
game
trick,
has
which is another really broken method
probably one of the weaker
of
voice
dealing with
actors.
anything.
Although, interesting tidbit,
Which I never showed
the
off in
voice
this
actor for
playthrough,
Ritz in
which
this
I
game is
should have
Scott
just to show
Mullock,
it.
who played Chris Redfield in the original Resident Evil. Which may surprise several people that any of the voice cast of the original Resident Evil got work after that.
This guy's pretty dangerous this early in the game.
But yeah, no, it was the
Like,
same voice
best
actor.
best advice for him is to
And
just
again-
abuse the holy water.
At least one thing you can say with this game is at no point is
Yeah,
the
Scott
voice acting
McCulloch,
ever boring.
the original voice
You
actor
have
for
bad
Chris
voice
Redfield,
acting.
went on, played Richter in this game. He played the
But as long as it's not
narrator in two
unbearably
Castlevania
bad,
64
I
games.
think if you stand in this alcove for a moment,
He played
elevator
Wild
will
Dog in
lower
the
you
first
to the
two
room
Time
below,
Crisis games.
which I'm not supposed to get into.
The hell is that?
There, I apologise.
There it is.
I'll
That
switch
happened,
my
I
nose.
think, a few
Here,
times
what was
early
your
in
this
my
room?
playthroughs, because the mic
Which
was
I'm not
close
supposed to get
enough,
into until
so
you've
like
missed.
moving around, I could
So you can grab some
accidentally
items in
bump
there
the
that you're
mic,
not
but
supposed to have yet.
nowadays
I'm not
it's
going to do that for the sake
a
of
good
not
enough
making it
distance
even
away that I'm
easier.
not gonna bump the mic.
Yeah, like I said,
That'd be
none of the
doing
voice acting is
something
boring or
completely not
unbearably bad. It's
normal for me
laughably
to
bad
do,
a lot
to
of
bump
the
the
time.
mic. It's in a much better
As
position
you'll
for it.
hear, if you leave this room and re-enter several times, there is a cycle of life. The seagull will
Do I
eventually
not get
lay
the
eggs.
jewel knuckles?
The eggs will eventually hatch, and the birds that hatch, the chicks that hatch from it, will eventually grow up and fly away on their own. Which is a nice little thing, I think. We take a look in the telescope, we get a quick early look at the ferryman. I don't think this has any purpose, but the Metroidvania Castlevania games
I used to
would
think
go on
that you
to
had to look
have
through
various
this
things like
telescope
this
to get the
that
ferrymen
don't
to
serve
spawn
any
in the
purpose,
underground
they're just kind of
caverns.
neat.
The first time, not the time that
Yeah,
requires
it's
the Merman
like, the voice
statue, but
acting
the
is not
first time.
unbearably bad at any point.
I'm pretty sure it isn't required
I've
though.
heard some unbearably bad voice acting. Like, I think a good example is if anybody who's watching
Is it
this
going to
ever
be Survivor?
played Spider-Man Web of Shadows
Uh,
on the PS3 or the Xbox.
that's not a bad
360,
example.
The voice actor for Spider-Man in that game is awful,
It really is.
and I
Did I
consider
really
it to
not
be
get
very bad. There was
the
a point where
Jewel
I stopped
Knuckles or the
playing that because I
Miraquias?
just could not stand the voice. Very petty, yes, but I did eventually go back to it and enjoyed the game. I found it to be a very enjoyable game.
Yeah,
Possibly
I look
bounce
forward
at
to
some
getting
point,
to Spider-Man Web of Shadows. It was a
as I do
pretty fun
quite
game.
like a lot of Spider-Man games. Scott Mullock, though, going back to that, unfortunately died in a car crash in 2000, which
Yeah,
was very sad
that
to see.
is a shame.
Very sad to hear about.
It makes you wonder, like, would he still
There
be voice
was
acting today if he
concerted effort
was still
in the last
around?
few years to find a lot of the actors and voice actors from the original Resident Evil, the live action actors and the voice actors. It turns out in almost, I think, every case, the voice actors were not the same people who provided the live action footage.
And his doppelganger, a boss that I used to have trouble with, until I found one easy trick to deal with the
If you
doppelganger.
look into that,
Raise the shield, he's going to throw a knife. There it is.
this is the
Always
doppelganger.
opens with that
It can be a
attack.
tricky fight until you equip the Red Rust, which is a weapon we picked up early on that is fairly weak. However,
If I manage to hit him.
if I can hit him, I'm doing terribly here.
Is this like the worst show of the playthrough?
He is now cursed, which means he cannot do any damage. He cannot do his normal attack, his sword attack. He can still throw knives, but as you can see,
Yeah.
they're doing one.
He's not going to be a
point of
problem. He
damage.
can't do any more damage. Oh, he just shot a knife into my face.
So, like,
Oh dear.
this fight goes from fairly tricky to a joke.
So with Doppelganger having recovery frames, you can't repeatedly hit him.
Get a
The
brief look there at
Basilard
the
is
back.
probably actually a bad choice for
It's
this
gonna be a
fight.
while before we get that ability.
It'd be
I'm not
after
gonna curse
something
him
that
again
could do more
because,
damage.
Look, he's only doing 3 points of damage already. Like, this is a boss doing 3 points of damage. That's the second boss of the game. And I didn't even go out of my way to get the better armor that I could have gotten in that room that we're not supposed to be in yet.
Yeah, the Miraquius.
But yeah, there was a
Oh, no,
concerted
there it
effort.
is. They're only watching the first part. Deliberately didn't go for the stronger equipment that you can access that early on. You know, this has been an interesting going back to the first video and thinking about it like that. It's been a fun year. We've had ups and downs. We've had some good playthroughs, some playthroughs that weren't so good. Sonic the Hedgehog wasn't a great playthrough, but I'm not great at Sonic the Hedgehog, which is the biggest problem. Sonic 2 was probably worse, and I should really get some practice in before we do Sonic CD, which will be the next Sonic game. But it's been a good year. I've enjoyed doing this, and we've expanded since then with the stream. It was a few months later after this we got the better internet connection. I could stream. It was great, and I've really grown to enjoy streaming. There were several times over the last year where I was debating like cutting off the playthroughs for the stream. But I think we're at the point now where I found a nice balance where I enjoy both of them pretty well. And it's a fun year. I look forward to the next year. as we go forward. We've got a bunch of good stuff planned, but like I've said many times before, I've not said it in a while actually. And the fact that we've made plans has probably made people think that we don't generally do this anymore. But we do still do. When we go to start a new game, a lot of the time it is something that's just like, oh, this is probably a good game to do, and then I play that game. So we did that with a bunch. I think Simpsons Hit and Run, we did that with. Astral Chain was a case of that. Ocarina of Time, which was probably my favourite playthrough of the last year. You know what, we've got... This video can go as long as I want it. Let's go and look at Ocarina of Time. The first part of that, because I really enjoyed that game. I've said during the playthrough, after the playthrough, and several times on the stream, I enjoyed Ocarina of Time during this playthrough more than I've enjoyed playing it in years. It was so much fun. It's also currently our longest playthrough, though I expect Astral Chain to overtake it. Let's take a quick look at Ocarina of Time. I think this is also going to be a good showcase of how far we came after Symphony of the Night. So we ended up. This is like another good point of how my editing skills. Are probably not
Shaun
even
back with,
editing
another Let's Play.
skills.
We're doing the
Editing.
greatest game ever made,
Turn this down.
as of 1998.
There we go.
It's Legend of Zelda Ocarina
That's
of
fine.
Time for the Nintendo 64.
Like my actual commitment to doing editing, whereas in the Symphony of the Night
Well-respected game,
playthrough we
very
didn't
influential.
really do much editing at all. There's a lot of the stuff left
Yeah,
in
it
with
really
the
is.
coughs and the sniffs and
I
the
haven't listened to this opening theme
the
that much, but it's
mouth
a good opening.
noises that aren't actually talking. But with this, I recorded this in 16:9,
Well, let's get started.
which I think I do mention at some point. This is recorded directly off Nintendo 64. The second game we've done from Nintendo 64.
Call ourselves after the greatest of the Resident
I remember this. It looks like I come up with arc off the top of my
Ocarina
head,
of
and I
Time,
don't.
playing this on the Nintendo 64,
This was the
which
second
is
take of the
wonderful
opening,
quality,
but the first
isn't
take
quite as
stopped
good as, like, the Super Mario
when I was trying to
64
figure out a name.
We played that on the
And eventually I just went with
Virtual
arc and then
Console, so that was
restarted
480p.
and did that.
It was emulating it at 480p, upscaling it to 1080.
We're talking about the Mario 64 playthrough.
So it looked pretty clean. I do have this on the Wii U Virtual Console, but I think during the Mario 64 Let's Play, there were issues with the right analog stick being used as the C buttons.
I spent so much time, effort, and a good amount of money
when I was using the analog stick, I
trying
wasn't
to
happy
get a
about that.
decent video quality out of the Nintendo
And so
64.
generally just for to make it more comfortable to play, we're playing this on the Nintendo 64.
I was like, this is
I'm
1080p.
using the Retro
There.
Fighters Brawler 64 pad, which I kickstarted. I was one of the kickstarters for that, and it's a really nice Nintendo 64 controller. It's very.
It's a good
comfortable,
controller. I do enjoy it.
nice.
The only complaint I have is the D-pad
don't
isn't
worry
great.
Too much about playing Mario Party with this.
Although I suppose that only really matters if you're playing Mischief Makers or Resident Evil 2. When we tried to do Resident Evil 2 for the stream off Nintendo 64 was
Let's play, and I am big
it got kind of really uncomfortable. But beyond that, it's a fantastic pad and I really enjoy it, and I have no issues with it during this playthrough.
And there was an intention to do that Zelda game first. Wasn't really going to bother with Zelda 1 or Zelda 2. I was going to start with Link to the Past, and I did record Link to the Past a while back, and I was not happy with how it all came out. So that was scrapped.
Yeah, we
Wasn't
did
gonna
we did a
redo it,
full playthrough of Links to the Past, and
but
I scrapped it for like two major reasons. The first was that the background noise was ridiculous. Like,
So we're doing this
my
instead.
computer was the fan needed cleaning out at that
Of
point,
course,
so you could hear it in the background going
one of the big differences between this and Link
throughout
to
the
Past
entire
is this
thing.
game is way
And it's
longer.
before I started using the noise reduction.
It's like if you check the live stream archive.
And secondly, it wasn't a good playthrough. For one, I got a game over. For the first time in years, I got a game over in A Link to the Past because I wasn't paying proper attention.
Ocarina of Time took, I think, 4 sessions to finish.
The Ocarina of Time was 4 sessions, Majora's Mask was 5.
So this is a longer game.
I'd completely forgotten about the Link to the Past playthrough we did on the stream. I was hoping to get it done in under 3 hours, and then I did. I was really happy about that.
But right now, Ocarina of Time.
So you can tell this is coming off the Nintendo 64 rather than the Wii or the Wii U Virtual Console, and I think it's most apparent in the text boxes.
Specifically because
But it's something you get over.
Link to the Past introduces a lot of the mechanics that the Zelda series runs with.
I remember I said, I think it was during the stream, that when we get to this game for the channel, it would be all Heart Pieces run. And it was. I was very happy about the way it worked out. So I played this specifically off the Nintendo 64 because it plays better that way. The control is designed for the Nintendo 64. I could have done the GameCube version. Would have had the same problem as the Wii version, or as the Wii Virtual Console version, or the Wii U Virtual Console version. The right analog stick mapped to the C buttons, it just doesn't feel comfortable using an analog stick to replicate buttons.
On this game,
Plus, like, looking into it over the past few months anyway, the Wii U Virtual Console for the Nintendo 64 isn't great anyway. The visual output is a little off. I ended up comparing visually the way this game looked playing it off the Nintendo 64
yeah, I don't think I've ever noticed that.
to the way it looked when I did it on stream.
One of the official Zelda books, Hyrule Historia,
And it looked noticeably different in terms of colour and
did
brightness.
actually have a proper.
Yeah, the editing though, when I was doing this, like,
It had an
the way I
timeline.
have Nintendo 64 set up so that I can get a decent visual quality is Nintendo 64 is hooked up via S-video cables to a HDMI converter that puts it into the TV. And unfortunately, it stretches the image.
Especially prior to the release of Hyrule Historia,
I can set the TV to 4:3 mode and it puts it back to normal and I can play it fine. It looks great.
I say prior to, especially
Considering
prior
this
to
is like a
Hyrule
240p
Historia
signal, it
came out.
looks surprisingly good.
I
The problem is the capturing it through the Elgato still captures it the way it's displayed,
and the Four Swords game
stretched.
both happened before this.
So I ended up looking into specifically how to compress stretched images back to 4:3
But I think for the most part,
and compress the image down for every part of this
actually, you know what, there is actually
game that we
something
did.
I think- No, I'm thinking of somewhere else. Alright.
So that was something I was pretty happy about having
starting with this,
learned and figured
here's a
out.
reasonable idea if you want the continuity of the later games. Because
I don't know when I'll go back to Ocarina of Time. 'Cause it was a really fun playthrough and I loved it, but
like
I
say,
don't
this game is
want
similar
to
like the
ruin that
earliest
by
Zelda
doing it
games.
again too soon. And like, this was the second time in a year that I'd done this game.
Wind Waker follows this game,
And I was surprised I enjoyed it as much as I did. So I do mention at some point during the playthrough, like before we started this, and we did. I was trying to do A Link to the Past. I started A Link to the Past and just stopped like 5 minutes in. I just wasn't feeling it, and ended up putting this on instead for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why I put this on afterwards, but we started it up and it was all right. And as we kept going further and further, I started really enjoying this.
If you start with
And
this,
it was
you can
so
go
much fun.
essentially anywhere based on the timeline. Because like after this, there was Majora's Mask, and then there was Wind Waker, and then there was Twilight Princess. We're talking console games.
Once we're done with the Castlevania Marathon on Resident Evil 3 Remake, I do want to go back and do Wind Waker for the stream, which I've mentioned several times anyway.
You can go anywhere after that. You could go into Wind Waker, you could go into Twilight Princess. They're both applicable. While Wind Waker came first, Twilight Princess is on a separate timeline. So you're not really...
I think this was one of the earlier playthroughs we did the noise reduction for.
So we'll see how we go, because I do want to do more Zelda games.
And the audio does come out a lot better for it, it's a lot cleaner.
And so now to actually talk about the game.
You don't have any of the background noise cutting in.
Like I said, we're playing this up Nintendo 64. This is the first release cartridge.
Yeah, I'd never done the first release before this playthrough. I forgot about that.
It's gonna have the original Gerudo symbol, which were both removed in later versions of the game.
It's the interesting thing, like, Nintendo 64 isn't region locked. It technically is, but that's a physical region lock. There are 2 tags inside the cartridge slot,
I think the Gerudo symbol only changed,
and each region has a... Each region's cartridges have different gaps in the bottom of the cartridge to let those tags fit in. And that's the region locking. If you pull those tags out, your 64 can play any region games. It makes no difference.
To get to the Great Deku Tree, we need the sword and the shield. So you need to find the sword, and then you need to get 40 rupees to get the shield. No, I'm good. And equip the shield. Awesome. So yeah, visual quality is less than the Mario 64 playthrough, because this is coming straight off of Nintendo 64, and Nintendo 64 is a pain to actually capture decent quality from. But it's more comfortable to play that way, because the 64's controller is so awesome.
I ended up buying an entirely separate Nintendo 64 for this. The current one I've got is a Japanese 64. Like, not specifically for this, just for capture.
Games, well, if you're playing a game that
because the PAL Nintendo 64s have different video problems than the NTSC ones. It's like if you go for the Super Eon, the Eon Super 64, whatever they call it, they'll put out directly through HDMI, then that isn't supported on, that doesn't support PAL systems. The original RGB mods I don't think supported PAL systems. I've considered quite a few times now seeing about getting an RGB mod for my Nintendo 64, looking into the Ultra HDMI mod, and my main reaction to it has been, I don't think the slight visual upgrade of the RGB is worth the price. I've done extensive research, and the visual upgrade between the S-Video as I have it now to RGB isn't good enough to justify the price. Ultra HDMI is good enough, but the price is absurd, and it's so hard to get an Ultra HDMI board for it. So I'm very happy with the way this came out. It's perfectly viewable, it looks great, you get it exactly how it was.
Really does. So what we're doing is...
We ended up with a bunch of video concerns last year that I've gotten past now with the Nintendo 64. There was the Dreamcast when I got that, capturing the VGA output, which is really clean on Dreamcast, which the Resident Evil 2 playthrough, which I think, because this is the end of the part, isn't it? No, we went through the entire Great Deku Tree in the first part. Wow. I was expecting it to end when we got to the Deku Tree. We'll take a look at the first part of Resident Evil 2 as well. My first playthrough, my favourite playthrough, and a Halloween playthrough that brought me back. Because when... I mean, we took the break in mid-September. Because I was losing
The
a lot of
wire-
enthusiasm.
The S video.
Not really for any real reason, I guess. I was just losing a lot of enthusiasm for the whole thing.
Otherwise, you end up
And
with-
we
you
finished
get standard
Arkham
S video
Asylum,
cables and use them on a
and we
power
had
64. You end up
Super
with
Smash
bright
Super Smash Bros. Brawl going up, the
oversaturated.
Space Emissary playthrough,
Not great.
which I've still not been back to and finished. I need to
So
do
I
that.
got special PAL S video
And we ended up, like, we got to October, I was like, you know, I want to do something for October, do the horror month. So we started Resident Evil 2 on Dreamcast. And it really brought me back. And then once we were done with that, it was a case of, now we're back where we were before that, like, I don't really feel like anything. And then this game, this one playthrough, really brought me back for it. And was so much fun.
Like you can, it's a 240p signal, still. But the issue with the S video cables I got for that was they were great to play. There was no sound coming through the right channel, I think, for some reason.
Yeah, I remember that. It was such a pain.
And so that was a pain I had to deal with. Like, what do? I've got an S-video to HDMI converter, which upscales. So we're upscaling 240p to 1080p. And
Which is why the video offers 1080p, because I rendered it the same way.
Decent, I'd say. It stretches the screen out, although that doesn't look as bad as you'd think. Although for the upload, I'm going to be converting it back to 4:3 in edit. So
Yeah, I'd already figured out how to do it by the time I started this playthrough.
Surprisingly decent.
It was a
honestly,
concern I definitely had
considering.
prior to starting this.
But yeah, the right sound channel, there was no sound coming through the right channel, that was a pain. It was fine to play with, because I didn't really notice it coming out of the TV, but capturing, like, there's no sound out of the right channel, you'll easily notice that.
I guess I could have duplicated the sound for this, set it to mono and duplicated the sound with that, but that wouldn't have been a good solution.
Always get a bullseye. I played this game a lot as a kid. And I used to know the exact spot you need to aim at to get a bullseye every time on anything. I don't mean like weak points for specific enemies, I mean the exact spot you aim at based on where the slingshot is.
The aiming is something that is harder on the Virtual Console and the GameCube releases, because the analog sticks for the GameCube, the classic controller for the Wii, and the Wii U gamepad and the Wii U Pro controller are all way more sensitive than the original Nintendo 64 controller, so aiming on them is a lot harder.
I was at a loss, really, because I'd spent the money, gotten this S-video cable special for PAL systems, and the S-video to HDMI converter. And I spent a few months like looking for some kind of solution for it. I ended up going on eBay and found a Japanese Nintendo 64 going for £20.
Yeah, £20 with no cables or anything.
Not brand new. A £20 Japanese N64 in good condition. No wires or anything, just the Japanese Nintendo 64. There we go. And so I looked into it, and the PAL wires work on the Japanese N64.
Yeah, I did a bunch of research for that.
Thought of, oh, I'll need to get a Japanese plug. I'll need to get a Japanese power supply and some sort of converter for that.
If I'd had to do that, I probably wouldn't have bought the Japanese Nintendo 64.
While Japanese and PAL power sockets output different power, the N64 takes the same voltage regardless of region, and the transformer, the big brick that you plug into the Nintendo 64, because you got the plug, and you have at the end of the plug, the bit you plug into the Nintendo 64 is the power brick. And the power brick, regardless
I can't believe this came out to
of
32
region, always
parts.
converts to the same
It was 32, wasn't it? 36 parts.
same voltage, so you can just use the PAL power supply.
I was really surprised this ended up being our biggest playthrough by the time it came out.
American N64.
Because prior to this, Resident Evil 4, I think at 21 parts was the biggest.
Because like before the Switch, every
But
Nintendo home console.
that was also the point where I was doing longer parts for every part anyway. Like mentioned earlier with the Symphony of the Night playthrough, when I started I was doing the longer parts, but then that's something I stopped doing. And now it's really just on a case-by-case basis.
Super Nintendo revisions might not be region locked, but for the most part, like until Switch came out, every Nintendo home system was region locked. The region lock in
Nintendo region lock, and I hate this subject.
Just two little bits of plastic in the cartridge slot that can easily be pulled out. And so at that point you can then play any region. And then there's the concern of, oh, but like NTSC-J and NTSC-U output at 60 Hz, whereas the the PAL outputs at 50. 23 is number one.
They've made the reference to 231, 23 number one a few
so
times.
What's the thought about PAL games running on a...
It's not even really that funny, it just amuses me every time I get an option for it, like in Resident Evil 2.
Well, it turns out that it's not the game that determines the what hertz it runs at, it's the console.
It's the system.
So you can run PAL games at 60 Hz if you are playing on an NTSC console. So that's cool. And so once that was done, I just got standard S video cables. And now here we are. And we're finally doing... This isn't the first... that's not what I was after. This isn't the first N64 game I've done. Because... by the time this comes out, it won't have been that long since we did...
Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask on stream. And we did Majora's Mask on the Nintendo 64.
That's a playthrough we're gonna get to soon enough.
Virtual console, but
Gonna give it a while because we only Ocarina of Time only finished at the end of January. It ran from November to January. It was crazy. But I'll admit I'm a little bit like Ocarina of Time when I did it on stream. I said like we're doing the all heart pieces run on the channel when we get to it, and I'm a little concerned about that actually. When we get to it, but I'll probably be sticking to that. Otherwise, it'll be the same playthrough as the stream, and it becomes a case of what was the point of doing it again.
But I think it came out pretty nicely. Alright, so let's talk about the actual game itself. This room...
Targeting the eggs.
Because you got eggs on the ceiling.
Do I get this first time? I don't think I do I?
Now, once again, like earlier...
No, it's a little too low. The hitbox to actually hit the eggs is weird.
There was a point where I could hit the exact spot to break those.
If they drop, they spawn like young Gomas. I haven't fought those things in years.
I could do it every time. Because I played this game a lot as a kid. I had this on Nintendo 64.
It's like in the Goma fight. Goma will climb onto the ceiling and drop eggs that will spawn young Goma. But I have not had her do that in years because I know how to prevent her doing that. I'm really happy with how this playthrough came out. I'm playing it off the 64 itself.
N64 games
it,
I've had that
I
really
like the
enjoyed.
authenticity of
With
playing it from the
N64
Nintendo
games, you
64.
took what you could
It's
get,
like I've been
and by
really
that I mean I
debating
took what I could
recently
get.
just going straight for Devil May Cry 3
Because
soon,
like PlayStation, like,
and
let's be fair,
I'm
everybody
kind
had
of in between, like, do we do the HD version for the visual clarity,
chipped PlayStation,
or the
but there
PS2
was
version for the
idiots in players
authenticity, because there's a bunch of visual effects
that copied
that
games.
don't exist otherwise, like when I did the
And as a kid,
GameCube
I
version
was okay
of
with that because it
RE4,
just
but
meant I could play
way
games.
more noticeable.
It's not really something I do now if I can avoid it. Let's see, 2, 3, 1.
23 is number 1. This changes in Master Quest, and I don't think you're ever told what it is.
But with the Nintendo 64,
Am I gonna do Master Quest for stream at some point?
even
Maybe, I
without the
guess.
whole, getting copied games,
I
for
doubt I'm
PlayStation,
ever gonna do a
Nintendo
playthrough
64
of it
games
for
were
the
more
channel.
expensive anyway. The cartridges were just more expensive.
But the stream will probably get a
Reason why the
playthrough of
64
Master Quest at
was
some
the
point.
PlayStation, on top of the lower storage capacity that cartridges have compared to CDs.
And the Goma fight. This fight gets a bunch of criticism for being really easy.
And some
But,
games were expensive. And so just
like,
took
when
what
this
you could
game
get
came
on
out,
64.
whether the fight was easy or not isn't really the point. Because
Like, oh, new
the
game,
whole
played the hell out of it.
design, the visual capability here
Here's
was
the first
very
boss.
impressive.
And this, I think,
Very
the
impressive.
boss itself is weak, but it's a fantastic introduction. And I think, like, the model of this is amazing. Especially for Nintendo 64, this game really pushed the
I
hardware.
love the subtitle for the bosses here. I don't think they did it again in Wind Waker, but they brought it back in Twilight Princess.
Damn it. So what you need to do is, when the eye goes red, shoot her in the eye with a slingshot. Now, if she climbs on the roof, she's gonna lay eggs. But while she's laying eggs, the eye goes red.
Oh. And I'm stuck around the other side of the leg. But I still managed to get it.
If I'd continued
And that
using
is
it,
going to
you'd
be
still
the end
be
of the
taking
part.
less hits, but 2 cycles is really kind of the best you can get anyway. Yeah, the eye turns red when she's laying eggs. Hit her immediately as soon as she starts laying the eggs.
I am
Never have to
very
lay the
happy
eggs.
with how far we've
Like, it's
come.
an easy boss,
Like, the
but
difference
it's a
between Symphony of the
fantastic
Night and this playthrough. Like, you can hear the confidence in my voice here.
Brilliant.
Or if not confidence, you can hear there's
Well, that's
more
done.
confidence. If not entirely confident. And that's really neat. Alright, so let's take a look at one more playthrough. Resident Evil 2 for Halloween 2019. Specifically say Halloween there because by this point I think I'd done Resident Evil 2 like 5 times or something for the stream. This was the first Dreamcast playthrough we did as well. And it's short, we'll get this finished. And it's really neat.
I love the Dreamcast startup screen.
Yeah, I kept that in because I really do like this. It's not a case of showing that we're on the Dreamcast version, because if you know Resident Evil 2, there's a bunch of visual points here that will explain it to you.
Shaun, back again with a fresh Let's Play.
Oh, I remember this. When we did this playthrough was another experiment.
We're starting off Halloween.
The game audio and the commentary audio are on the same audio track.
Games with a horror theme, whether they're actually scary or not.
So the game audio goes quiet while I speak. Which is something I tried out with the Metal Gear Solid playthrough, I remember that. But we didn't do it past the first session. I brought it back here to give it a try. And I wasn't overly happy with what it meant for editing.
This is like the best looking version of the game on console. You can get this on. You can get it on GameCube, and there's been, I think it was pretty recently, there's a mod called the Seamless HD mod that
like if we do it this way, we end up with the game audio and the commentary audio in the same audio track, which means there's no editing that without cutting game audio out, which I'm not happy about. So we do it separate now.
The backgrounds cleans up everything.
Like we've done pretty much since the beginning, to allow us to do the non-commentary versions, which is still something that I do. Like the non-commentary versions we've not really talked about, they basically exist as if somebody wants to watch gameplay of a game, one of the games I've done, without my voice talking over it. Because it's a common thing that I've seen over the past few years, people like memes of it and stuff. Like, you look for a game you want to see and you want to see gameplay of, or maybe you're looking for a walkthrough and you just want to see somebody showing you how to do this part of the game that you're stuck on, and you start the video up and it's like, hey guys, welcome back. It's like, ugh. So the non-commentary versions exist as an option for people who wanted to see the game without hearing my voice, and I'm still pretty happy with it. And the non-commentary versions generally have less editing than the actual Let's Play parts.
Sequel to the original Resident Evil. And the original Resident Evil was one of the first, what you would call, killer apps for the PlayStation. One of the first must-have games. One of the first games that justified buying a PlayStation, because God knows it wasn't going to be Ridge Racer as the reason you bought a PlayStation.
I had the original Ridge Racer as a kid, and I never really enjoyed it. It wasn't until years later that I actually started to enjoy any of the Ridge Racer games, and I'm a big fan of Ridge Racer now, and it's really a shame that the series is kind of dead now.
So Resident Evil 2 had something of a tumultuous? It had a difficult development period. There is, of course, the now legendary Resident Evil 1.5, which was the original Resident Evil 2 project that was scrapped.
Looking back on this, it looks like it might be overbright, but the weird thing about capturing Dreamcast through the VGA at this point, which was a problem, I had to get a specific video converter so that my Elgato would register the input, because it puts out, I think it's a weird resolution. It's 480p. It's very clean and crisp, but it's a weird specific 480p that the Elgato just wouldn't receive. So I was looking for a specific video converter that the Elgato would pick up, and I got that. But it puts the Dreamcast picture out weirdly dark for some reason. So I up the brightness a little bit on any Dreamcast capture I do. Most notable, it's most visible with the streams where I've done more games on Dreamcast. As of right now, this is the only playthrough we've done on Dreamcast. Although Sonic Adventure will probably be a Dreamcast playthrough, though I'm still up in the air of whether I'll do Adventure or Adventure DX. And this looks maybe a little overbright.
You may have noticed at the start in the menu that we had some extra options. In the other versions, you have normal and easy. In the Dreamcast version, there's an unlockable hard mode. The arranged game, if we would have gone into that. In the other versions, you have Rookie and Full Survivor and EX Battle mode. In this, you get Rookie, Expert, Nightmare, as well as EX Battle and Full Survivor.
I love Resident Evil 2, but I feel like I've kind of burnt myself out on it over the last year. So we've done it multiple times for the stream, we did the playthrough, and I need to take a break from this game for a while.
But we're playing Resident Evil 2 in the canonical.
I'm probably going to end up playing it again within the next month. Whether it's myself or not.
And we begin.
I need to get some practice on the original Resident Evil, actually.
Time to get used to the controls and the entire style of the game.
Yeah, that is kind of overbright. I should have
And oh no, you're
really
surrounded by zombies in the
not
middle
had
of
it this bright.
Get out of there.
Hmm.
I'm sure the placement of the zombies in this one room is actually randomized. Sometimes
So since doing this, I haven't really looked into it much, but I have come to a hypothesis. I think different versions of the game have different enemy layouts. Why is that not cut out? That's not cut out because I have the game audio mixed with the commentary audio. That is one of the best examples of why I don't do that there at all.
So this is Robert Kendo in Leon's. If you do Leon,
Yeah, but what was I saying?
Kendo is carrying a shotgun.
God, I've forgotten completely
Claire,
now.
He is carrying a bowgun.
The entire city was infested with zombies.
Yeah, the placement. Like,
So
some versions of the game have enemies in specific places, some versions don't. Some versions have items in specific places, some versions don't. Like, later on in this playthrough, when I check the lockers in the West Office, and there's no ammo there. But then, I think I played it on PS1 a little while ago, and there was ammo there.
I think it looks the best.
It's weird.
Thanks to the VGA output.
Get this at 1080 as well.
Come on, guys.
Haven't they broken out?
There we go. Jeez.
Huh. I was pretty happy with the Resident Evil 2 playthrough. This playthrough was 2 sessions, Claire A, then a separate session for Leon B.
We've done some Dreamcast stuff before.
How many parts was this playthrough? 13 parts.
We've been through RE2 on.
It was good stuff. I enjoyed this playthrough.
3 of those times have been on Dreamcast. We explored the EX Battle Mode on Dreamcast and messed around a little bit with.
That was weird when I played EX Battle Mode. I don't think I'd ever actually done it before.
But yeah, thanks to the VGA setup that you can have with Dreamcast, I think this comes out looking better than it does on GameCube.
It really does. The GameCube output isn't as good as Dreamcast anyway, but I think the visual quality of the game is lower on GameCube, possibly because the GameCube puts both discs onto one mini DVD, whereas the Dreamcast version is 2 GD-ROMs.
Let that one bite me. So what we're doing is we're getting to the police station without picking any items up.
Where does this part end?
Which means we have, with Claire, it means we have 13 shots.
Right, okay. The Stars corridor.
5 bullets left.
There are less zombies here than there were in the PlayStation version.
So I'm actually pretty happy with that run. We got there only taking the 1 bit of damage that I intended to take.
Yeah, it was a pretty good run, I'll admit that.
With the zombie on the floor, in fact, we'll talk about Brad here. You get to the police station without picking up any items, Brad appears, and we'll be back for Brad later.
I wonder if they're going to put Brad in RE3 make as a zombie. Because he wasn't in RE2 make.
But the zombie on the ground, I don't think it's worth shooting her. If you take the hit, you instantly kill her. Claire kicks the head off Leon, stamps on the head. It's instant kill for the zombie. So I don't think it's worth using the ammo when you have limited ammo. One cool thing about the Dreamcast version is the VMU, the little memory cards that slot into the controller, actually have.
We actually put a picture here.
Display on them in the controller that tell you.
Yeah, I do.
The equipped weapon.
Yeah. Because I'm using the Mad Catz Dreampad because I wasn't happy about the. I wasn't happy with the standard Dreamcast controller I got.
Is a little bit, yeah. Mostly, it's not necessary because RE2 introduces.
I suppose at this point we're not really even talking about
health states.
How we've grown that much. Like we definitely have grown and improved, and it's been a good year. There were a few downers. The hiatus we took in September. The concerns after Halloween, where I was just not feeling it again. We've not really gone back to that since, and I've still got the motivation for this. we're still really enjoying it, and the stream started and we've gone on. I think the anniversary for that is May, and stream has been really fun, and we've met a lot of great people with the stream.
I haven't been able
And
to
we
cover
recently
any
hit
of this,
affiliate, which is really cool.
but it's going to be
Like
a month of
under a
horror
year, we've
games,
managed to make affiliate,
building up to the
and
final day, the
I'm so
31st,
grateful to
which is
everybody
straight
who
up Halloween.
watches
We're
everything
going to be doing a special
and
Twitch stream for that.
sticks around. Especially,
It's
if
gonna
there's
be a
one person to
one-off
really
stream, but
call
it's gonna
out,
be
is
a
Bane,
stream going
my mod
until I die
on
in the game that I'm going to be playing.
the stream. Dude's always supporting me.
So
Has been since the start. He's a great dude, and he's part of the motivation
and he's given us a
for the whole
code that we
thing.
can now access the computer and open the side doors, because the reason we went straight into that room is because the other doors are actually locked. Let me combine this.
Well, like, the last year has been
So RE2 is
really,
game I probably have the second
really
most
good with
experience
the Let's
in
Plays and the
series.
stream, and it's been a good time. I've met a bunch of great
I played
people,
RE4 a lot, and then I also played RE5
grown as a Let's Player, as a streamer.
years ago.
We've experimented with capture methods, we've expanded what we can do.
But of the classics, RE2 is the one I have the most experience with. If you saw the Resident Evil marathon on Twitch that I did,
I was actually kind of disappointed with that marathon the way it came out. I finished RE2 and RE3, and that was kind of it. And I'm deliberately focusing with the Castlevania marathon on not having a repeat of that.
The Resident Evil
And it was only 6 parts anyway.
And then we did
I really
RE3,
lost
then we did
enthusiasm for that
RE2, and then we just kind of messed around with some of
pretty
the others.
quickly.
And I did mention this is a unique camera angle, only exists this first time you come in, and now we'll never see it again. I did mention like it had been a long time since I'd been through all the way through RE3, and it's primarily because like whenever I feel the want to go back to a classic RE game, RE2 is just kind of comfort. Like I said, I think it's the best balanced. It's the simplest to go through. We can have this done in a single sitting. We're at the point where I can push this down to under 2.5 hours now. Probably less if I actually managed to optimize my route.
I suppose in the end, I'm glad I started the Let's Plays. I'm glad I stuck with the Let's Plays. I'm glad that I was happy with the way Sympathy of the Night came out, and then I felt confident to go forward with it. And then we did Resident Evil 4, and that was a long playthrough. And I'm glad I made that push for a longer playthrough that early. It's like, Resident Evil 4 was the longest playthrough until Ocarina of Time. And like doing a longer playthrough that early has really worked out for me, because it feels more... It feels like I can do it, as opposed to doing a bunch of shorter games and then we get around to a longer game. It's like, can I really do this? It's so much longer than anything else we've done. And it really works out for me, and it's been a lot of fun. Like I said, we met a lot of great people through the stream, which I'm really happy about. And we have a lot of fun there. I have fun doing the playthroughs, the Let's Plays, the stream. And like we got a bunch of great stuff I'm intending for this year. We have Star Wars month coming up in May, which I've already got one playthrough fully recorded. The other one I need to get down to. And Halloween will be coming back this year. I'm looking forward to that. A bunch of options that I'm considering.
Generally, that's where people slip up. They'll try to use the bowgun like the shotgun, when in reality...
And like it's been a year, and we still don't get many people watching these. I mean, 8 views here on Resident Evil 2 Part 1, and that's fine, because
and it does that fantastically.
we started the Let's Plays as a reason to push myself into playing more games, because I'd been having trouble getting motivation to actually play games. The game is like my main hobby, and I just wasn't doing it as much anymore. I'd lost a lot of the motivation, and the Let's Plays have really helped with that as a reason to push myself into it. And so even if nobody watches this, I'm glad I've done this. I'm glad I'm still doing it. Like, the stream has been great for meeting people, getting more friends, re-experiencing stuff, because we did Skies of Arcadia. I've been meaning to do Skies of Arcadia for years again. Because I had it as a kid, I played as a kid, and I've still got my copy from when I was a kid, and I'd been meaning to go through it again for years, and I just hadn't. And then we did. We started last year, but then we picked it up again early, like at the start of this year, and it was fantastic, and I'm so happy that we did. And without the stream, we never would have done that. Without the Let's Plays, we wouldn't have done the stream. And I'm really happy with how all of this has turned out.
Probably the rocket launch, the infinite rocket launch, the infinite Gatling gun, the infinite submachine gun.
And that's the end of that part. And I'm really happy about the way the playthroughs are going, where they're going. And this has gone over long at this point. Been almost an hour and a half that we've been doing this now. I suppose at the end of the day, like, thank you to everybody who watches these playthroughs, everybody who supports me through them. I really do appreciate it, because this started out as a case of, let's just see how this goes, and it went well enough, and then, okay, I don't hate this, so let's keep going, and it can be a good motivation to get me to play a bunch of games now, because I'm having trouble really focusing on them. And like, once we start recording, there's only been one occasion when I've been like, no, and that was the Link to the Past playthrough that I started before we did Ocarina of Time, where I put it on, I played for 5 minutes, and was like, no, we're not, this isn't going anywhere. Because like every other time, it's like we start recording, and it's a case of bam, we're in, we're focused, we're playing the game. And it's been great. Playing games for last year. I hope to continue doing it for the foreseeable future. And I guess all that's left to do is like thank you everybody who watches my playthroughs. If you ever watched any of the playthroughs, thank you so much. Really appreciate the support. If you ever watched any of the streams, thank you. It's really good of you. If you ever join the chat and the streams, thank you. I love every one of you guys. You're all great. And here's to another year of Shaun Plays. Thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic time of day. And I'll catch you next time.